This is the Sean Hannity Show podcast.
All right, conservative underground, conservatism in exile. 800-941-SEAN is our toll-free telephone number. You want to be a part of the program. You know, in the break, I just picked this up. The Washington Post is confirming now something that we first speculated about earlier this week, and that is the decision to release the so-called CIA torture memos, the enhanced interrogation memos, was, in fact, an effort to discredit former Vice President Dick Cheney. Obama's aides said, and I'm reading from the Washington Post, that they hope the memo's release will focus the public attention on the coldness and sterility of the legal justifications for abusive techniques, with Obama telling reporters in the Oval Office on Tuesday that the documents demonstrate that the nation lost its, quote, moral bearings in the Bush years. Well, I guess we could have always followed the moral bearings of Jeremiah Wright and Bill Ayers and Bernardine Dohrn and Tony Resco. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? There I go again. I fell back in it. I thought it was pre-election. Anyway, a source familiar with the White House views said Obama's advisors are further convinced that letting the public know exactly what the past administration sanctioned will, quote, undermine what they see as the former Vice President Dick Cheney's effort to box Obama in, quote, by claiming that the executive order heightened the risk of a terrorist attack. Well, of course it heightened the risk by removing these techniques. You have to be an idiot to think otherwise. Now, it's just what we told you this was. Now, they don't want Cheney out there blowing the whistle on their attempts to dismantle this country's defenses. They're doing anything and everything they can do. They don't want Dick Cheney talking. Every time Dick Cheney says anything, I can't believe he's doing this. This is unprecedented. We've never had a former vice president. Hey, Greg, crank up Al Gore in there. We never had a former vice president talk about the current or following administration. Now, let me see. I do remember a speech before MoveOn.org in a very worked up and hysterical Al Gore screeching at the top of his lungs that George Bush betrayed his country.
He betrayed this country. He played on our fears.
Oh, so I guess Dick Cheney's calm, reasoned, thoughtful interview with me pales in comparison. But they don't want Cheney out there blowing the whistle on their attempts to go out there and dismantle our country's defenses. And they're going to do everything they can do to silence Dick Cheney, intimidate Dick Cheney. By the way, good luck to them. He's not going to shut up. And by the way, up to and including compromising our national security by releasing these memos. Now, I'm going to tell you, I even said this before George W. Bush left office. I honestly wondered out loud if it would be smart and wise and prudent to offer a blanket pardon to all in the CIA and the military, because I just suspected that the radicalness and the extreme left-wing pressure would be too much for Obama to bear. You know, as long as they can get Dick Cheney. And by the way, don't put it past them. We'll take this wherever the law follows. Don't think that they won't go after a former vice president. Don't think that it is beneath them to do this and politicize everything and put this country into turmoil, political turmoil, like we've never seen before. The only reason they won't do it is if they view this as politically so divisive that it's going to divide the country in two. That's the only reason why they're just thinking, well, it might be too risky. But don't think it's not what they want to do. They don't care how much they increase the vulnerability of another 9/11 attack, which, by the way, we're out here saying that if they continue to weaken our defenses as they are, then we're going to discover why it was important. And through the prism of history, Bush and Cheney, faster than I ever imagined, are going to sadly be vindicated. The idea is not to weaken our country's defenses. It also looks like the Obama White House is losing the so-called torture debate. Now, we had a Pew poll yesterday showing that a near majority of Americans support these harsh interrogations, 49-47. And Pew referred to it as torture rather than harsh interrogations, which, by the way, semantically makes a big difference if, in fact, you are doing a survey, which I'm sure Americans would support, by the way, by a landslide. We saw this in yesterday's Man on the Street interview. The New York Daily News reports that the Obama White House wilted further yesterday in the flap over enhanced interrogations, conceding that getting rough may have mined good intelligence. The National Intelligence Director already has conceded that point. And Leon Panetta, to his credit, was smart enough to say, don't do this. And who would have thought Leon Panetta is going to be viewed as the right-winger in this administration? But anyway, amid this political tug-of-war between liberals and conservatives, we have this genius, Robert Gibbs, the dumbest press secretary that this country's ever had, admitting that these brutal interrogations of al-Qaeda prisoners worked sometimes. He actually said, I think people would tell you that there was information that was procured that was helpful and information that was procured that was made up. Nobody could ever likely tell you that any information derived couldn't also have been derived from other means. Well, according to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, he said, well, you'll find out soon enough. And then we discovered that he started singing like a bird. But now it's very simple. All they've got to do is release the information and we'll have all the details we want. Now, Democrats want a truth commission. They want to probe the torture claims. And but the White House's position on torture, flapped and flipped and flopped since just last weekend, appear to side with Republicans. Now, I think the last few days we might get the evidence of why something like a commission of some kind would likely become a political back and forth, Gibbs said. They don't know what they're doing there. That's the most frightening portion of all of this. When Robert Novak, remember this, when Robert Novak, and I talked earlier about the Jake Tapper piece on ABC. Do you remember when he revealed the identity of Valerie Plame? Remember that? Democrats went nuts. They demanded Karl Rove be frog-marched out of the White House in handcuffs for blowing Plame's cover. Rove wasn't guilty. And we find out that this prosecutor actually had discovered early on in the investigation that, in fact, it was Richard Armitage who disclosed Valerie Plame's status. And by the way, she was not a covert operative, which means they should have closed up this investigation right away and Scooter Libby never should have been prosecuted. Well, now a former top CIA official is accusing the president himself, Barack Obama, of blowing the entire agency's cover with his decision to release all sorts of top secret material about the interrogations. Dr. Mark M. Lowenthal, former assistant director of the CIA for analysis and production, he tells ABC, Jake Tapper, that the president's moves in the last week have left many in the CIA dispirited, based on the undercurrent that I've been getting from colleagues still in the building or colleagues who have left not that long ago. Well, in other words, it's what I quoted earlier in this week. Every single solitary operative that has come out and spoken publicly is now saying this is a disastrous idea, and the consequences are we're going to totally, utterly, and completely render impotent our intelligence gathering. Intelligence gathering is what is going to ultimately win the war on terror. It is a different kind of war. And it's not like we can just spy on a particular country. We've got to dig down deep inside, the guts of groups like Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah and Hamas and others so that we can literally protect our cities and our towns from attack. That's what this is about. He said, quote, we asked these people to do extremely dangerous things that they've been ordered to do by legal authorities with the understanding that they will get top cover if something goes wrong. They don't believe that they have that cover anymore. Releasing interrogation photographs will make it much, much worse. And he says members of the CIA are worried. They feel exposed already, and this is going to increase the drumbeat for an investigation or commission to explore detainee treatment during the Bush years, he said. It's going to make it much harder to resist. And they fear that then, they're going to be thrown overboard, and probably will be. Is there any reason to believe that they're not going to be? If I was working for the agency and I was asked to do the tough, dangerous job of intelligence, and I heard this was going on, why would I bother risking my life for my country at that point, knowing that they're going to come after me years later after giving the orders that I'm going to be prosecuted for it, which, by the way, they haven't ruled out. Because remember, nobody's above the law except if you're Tim Tax Cheat Geithner or Tom Daschle. It's unbelievable. Or the FALN terrorists that Holder released, supported the pardon of. All right, let's get to our phones. Let's go to Joe in Michigan. Joe, hello, how are you? And welcome to the Sean Hannity Show.
Hello, Mr. Hannity. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Joe. How are you?
I'm fine. I appreciate that you took the call. I'm offended by you. I'm absolutely floored and offended.
Well, I'm offended by the Obama White House. I'm offended by Jeremiah Wright. I'm offended by Tony Resco. I'm offended by Father Flager. I'm offended by Michelle Obama thinking America's a mean country. I'm offended by him bowing before a Saudi king. I'm offended by him not walking out on Ortega. I'm offended by his embrace of the Castro brothers. I'm offended by his embrace of Ahmadinejad and his willingness to talk to a Holocaust denier. So you know what? That makes two of us. We're both offended. How's that?
I could have listened to that. I could have listened to that epilogue over the radio, and I didn't have to be on the phone with it. But thank you very much for letting me hear it in person.
I'm just trying to help educate you. You're offended, I'm offended. We're all happily offended together.
You stand up there and on your little soapbox, and you put a Joe the plumber up there, and he
it's actually not a little soapbox.
The working man of the United States of America. But you know what? I'm a Joe the engineer, and I'm a working man for the United States of America as well. My life extends out to where I paid half of my mother's rent. I pay all of her insurance on her car so that my mother doesn't live in poverty. She grew up in a generation where Social Security and that retirement or those lucrative contracts that are killing the United States of America.
Do you want me to give you a pat on the head and say you're a great guy? Joe, wait a minute.
I subsidize her.
Well, Joe, God bless you. If you didn't help your aging mother out, I would think you're a pretty selfish guy. And you know what? There's probably not a person in this audience that doesn't help out family members, that doesn't help out charities. We're the most generous people on earth. You're one of them. God bless you. I do it, you do it, and everybody in this audience probably does what they can too.
Now let's do some math in here. My living wage that I make right now, working 65 to 70 hours.
Right, I don't have time for a speech. Give me your
down 30%.
It had then maybe you know what? If it's dropped down, then maybe you're doing something wrong. I don't believe your numbers. I don't believe you're going to blame this on the Bush administration. I've had it with this mentality. Joe, if you're not happy with how much money you're making, then go get another job. I can't tell you what to do with your life, but I am telling you this: that America still is the land of opportunity. And thank God you make enough money for yourself. Thank God you're helping your mother out. That's not a bad thing. I don't know why you feel the necessity to brag on the radio about it. We don't talk about all the charitable contributions I make. I'm trying to understand the thinking here. If maybe government would pull their belt tight a little bit and spend a little bit less of our money, you might have more money for yourself and more money for your mother, and you could do a better job taking care of her than they can. Trust me. Folks, I am worked up today. Stan in Portland, Maine. What's up, Stan the man? How are you?
Hey. Hello?
Yes, go.
Yeah, this is Stan DeFries, and I went to the tea party here in the state of Maine, and what I found out was a bunch of men whining. We've been taxed like crazy for 20 years. I've been here for 20 years. For 20 years. Small business owner, opened a business 1992 and running the last.
Give me your bottom line, Stan. What's your bottom line?
My bottom line is, what are we as Republicans going to do? I have not heard anybody saying anything about the bailouts, about the banks.
Well, you're not listening, because there are some Republicans, especially in the House, and there are a number of senators that have been dead on solid. But I'm going to tell you, I have my answer. Go to my website, Hannity.com. 10 items for victory. And that means national security. And that means energy independence. That means the party of fiscal responsibility, free market solutions for health care and education, the party of the American dream, border security. Go find it. I've mentioned it 100 times or more. There are answers. But I would tell you this: Republicans do need to put their pen to paper, and they need to put a promise down to the American people and make it simple to counter the madness that is currently going on in D.C. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. A busy Hannity tonight. Are they going to release these photos of interrogations? How do you define torture? We got Huckabee. We've got Kimberly Guilfoyle, Michael Strahan tonight, former Miss USA tonight, and much more. 9 Eastern. Straight ahead. All right, Jeff in Pittsburgh, PGB, our Big FM talker. What's up, Jeff?
Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm good, sir. Let's get right to it.
Well, I enjoy your show. I have for years, and while I don't always agree with you, I really believe that you serve a purpose in educating people and bringing matters to light. But I do have a criticism, and I thought your man on the street yesterday and in the past is not fair, because some of the people that you're talking to, I just think that you maneuver them into giving you answers that are entertaining, and I think it takes away from who and what you are.
Well, let me ask you a question. I purposely don't make the questions tough. I don't ask who their state representative is. I don't ask who their congressman is. I ask maybe the vice president, maybe the secretary of state, and the president. I'm not asking for the big answers. I'm not asking for great specificity. I'm asking what role they want the government to play in their lives. Should the government pay for health care and daycare and college and baby bond and all this stuff? I'm just trying to get their thought process. I do play around a little bit with the Karl Marx aspect of it, but it is remarkable the number of people that actually think the role of government is to take care of every need we have and create a nanny state. That's the point.
And I appreciate that. And I do. I truly enjoy your show. But the young lady you spoke to yesterday is the catalyst of my call. That woman no more knows who Karl Marx is than she knows who Groucho Marx is. And she's no more a Karl Marxist than she is a Groucho Marxist. And I just think that you open the door to people who would like to criticize you and criticize.
Well, Jeff, listen, I'm not going to live my life. I appreciate your kind words. You sound like a good guy. But look, I don't care what liberals think of me. If I did, I wouldn't be able to do this show. We'll continue. Heidi is in Virginia. Hey, Heidi, happy Friday. And what a Friday. It's going to be 87 degrees in New York this weekend. 87.
I know. I can't
Can you believe it?
Summer's finally here.
Well, it's finally here, at least for the weekend.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Hannity, it's such an honor to talk to you. You are a great American.
Well, so are you. Welcome to the program. Glad you called.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've been listening to all the, torture memos, and I've gotten so upset. I am biased. My husband and I are both active duty. I've been in for 17 years. So when everybody's talking about these CIA operatives that are exhausted from trying to protect this country every single day, because we have to get it right every single day to keep this country safe, they act like our CIA operatives just went and grabbed these guys, rushed them into some kind of a room, and started waterboarding them. And that is just not how it happens. And I'm so upset that people aren't slowing down and taking a deep breath. We take care of their medical care. We take care to give them, not just healthy food, but to make sure that, they don't get pork. Their food isn't even handled by, unclean hands. We go out of our way to accommodate.
This is the thing here. You got to understand. This was all done for political reasons. This was done without any consideration of the impact that it's going to have on the ability of our intelligence agencies to do their jobs. Cliff May had a great posting on the corner on Kalo Land, a National Review Online. There were strict sets of rules for every pour of water that had to be counted. Mm-hmm. The number of pours were limited. I mean, if you read in the newspaper, well, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed 180 plus times refers to the session of waterboarding. But to the actual pours, there were actual rules, very strict rules, doctors on site. Waterboarding interrogation sessions were permitted for no more than 5 days within any 30-day period. No more than 2 sessions were permitted in any 24-hour period. A session could last no longer than 2 hours, and there could be at most 6 pours of water lasting 10 seconds or longer, never longer than 40 seconds during any individual session. And water could be poured on the subject for a combined total of no more than 12 minutes during any 24-hour period. Now, you do the math. It's the bottom line here is the idea was to scare them. The idea was to intimidate them. The idea was to get them to talk. The idea was to keep the American people safe. Liberals are too dumb and stupid to understand that this would actually work, and it did work, and they ignore it.
Yeah, and it was a last resort. That they don't do this just on a whim. And I've been to survival school. Yep. And it's laughable that, that they're calling this torture. The things that we went through just to, be prepared, that they're letting all this out. We are so much unsafer that I cry. I have a 6-year-old little girl, and she's everything that I've ever done right in my life. And I don't want her to grow up in this world where we're just opening up the floodgates for another attack.
Well, Heidi, look, as I said earlier in the program today, Barack Obama is on a daily basis making this country less safe. Barack Obama does not understand the nature of evil. Barack Obama is weakening our homeland security and our national security. America will pay a price for this appeasement mentality. We know that our intelligence community, who we ask to do extraordinary things, dangerous things, that they now are intimidated, that we are rendering our intelligence agencies impotent. As this pre-9/11 posture, this pre-9/11 mentality or worse, is going to endanger the lives of every American. And, they don't understand the nature of the enemy. Their argument, well, we need to be ethical. We're just this is helping to recruit the enemy. None of which is valid, none of which a thoughtful, commonsensical person would conclude. And so thereby America now goes into this mentality that, you know what, it's naive. It is, we'll be nicer to them. Don't you get it? They'll be nicer to us. They're just ridiculously stupid. And the idea is that America now is on a very dangerous path of appeasement, and this appeasement mindset and mentality. Anybody that supports it, anybody that doesn't understand it, anybody that buys into this, I'm telling you, they don't know anything about the last 100 years of human history. Zero, zip, nada. They are ignorant. They are arrogant. They are dumb. They are stupid. They are reckless. They are irresponsible. And their stupidity can result in a lot of human death and suffering. Let's go to Kelly in Arlington, Texas. Hello, Kelly. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm worked up, and I'm supposed to be relaxing. It's Friday, but don't let not your heart be troubled. This is my passion.
Okay. I was just going to make a comment. I teach high school senior English, and I was finally getting to get my little slant in on what was been going on and how unprepared the kids really know about. I teach seniors, and so some of them were just first-time voters. Mm-hmm. And we were studying Animal Farm, and
it's been a while, I'll tell you.
I know. I was like, oh my God, this is all happening right now. And so we did a bunch of projects and research first, and then we talked a lot about propaganda, some of the stuff like simplistic slogans and ignorance of the followers.
Oh, look, it's, an Orwellian nightmare, 2 + 2 = 5. I mean, yeah. It's, look, I'm telling you, propaganda works. Simple bumper stickers and slogans work. But that's why, look, Democrats are great at this. Republicans, I'm telling you, Republicans need to really dumb down their message, make it simple but yet profound. And look, we laid this out in almost a year and a half ago with our 10 items for victory. They got to be the party of national defense. And by the way, that includes enhanced interrogations. They've got to be the party of fiscal responsibility, and that includes eliminating earmarks. They've got to be the party of energy independence, border security, free market solutions, education, health care, the party of free markets, the party of the American dream. That's it. And they got to put it pen to paper and explain it to people in simple terms. And you know what? It'll make the country stronger, more secure, and more prosperous. That's what they need to do.
Well, I'd like to also make a comment on one of my students who actually voted for Barack Obama for the very first time, and he's an African-American student. His research was over the socialism and Marxism, and he was reading, he asked me, he goes, have people really done their research on this? Have y'all been reading about this? And he said, he wished he could go back and tell people that they shouldn't have voted for him.
I'm sorry, I missed that last line. Somebody was talking to me. Say it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. He actually said that he wishes now that he didn't vote for him and that he could have told people that he should have done his research first.
Look, I've a lot of people that I've met a lot of people, I'm telling you, there is buyer's remorse out there. I think a lot of people bought into the rhetoric, the teleprompter reading, and I think a lot of people bought the slogans and bumper stickers. Now, with that said, now that we see what's going on here and that he's radically changing the country for the worse, I think people they have a heightened sense of fear. Now, if you listen to Janine Garofalo, this heightened sense of fear is based because of some racial antipathy. No, there's nothing to do with it whatsoever. This is just a distraction by Democrats that want to demonize Republicans and slander them and excoriate them for something that is fundamentally untrue. But it's not going to work. The American people don't judge people by their color, but by the content of their character. In this case, we're dealing with the character of ideas. And if America is going to go down the wrong road and he has the wrong principles that are guiding him. We are allowed to be outspoken. We are allowed to speak out. We are allowed to go out there and do everything we can do to get new officials elected. And that's what we're doing, and I'm not apologizing for it. Dan in Cincinnati, 55KRC. What's up, Dan? How are you? Dan the man.
All right, Sean. Hard to listen to you say Democrats wanted to demonize and slander Republicans, because that strikes me as just what you're doing to Obama.
Well, what have I ever said that's slander?
Well, you misrepresent things on a regular basis.
No. What have I... Now, you just made an accusation that I slandered the president. You've got to be specific. Give me a specific example where I have slandered him.
By saying that he went and told the world that the United States was arrogant.
He said it. You want to hear it? I'll play it for you.
It says sometimes, Sean. It says sometimes
wait a minute.
we have been.
Well, that's saying we're arrogant. Listen to what he said.
In America, there's a failure to appreciate Europe's leading role in the world. Instead of celebrating your dynamic union and seeking to partner with you to meet common challenges, there have been times where America's shown arrogance.
There have been times America's shown arrogance.
And
now, wait, hang on a second. I didn't slander. He said that America at times is arrogant.
But that's not the way you represent it.
That's calling America arrogant.
No, look, good people can do bad things.
Hang on a second. Ladies and gentlemen, don't hang up, Dan. Don't hang up. Ladies and gentlemen, this type of discussion can happen with a liberal. I just play for him that Obama saying that America has been arrogant. And I say he's been on an apology and arrogant, calling America arrogant tour. I play it for this guy, and he still won't admit it. It all depends what is we were alone, but we never really were alone. Dan, what is wrong with you? Can't you open your ears?
Sean, you don't know the difference between sometimes and always. There's always, sometimes, never. It's the only three choices on the planet.
Geez.
Well, I'm serious. If a good guy does a bad thing,
did he say America is arrogant?
He said sometimes we have been.
Dan, this is a distinction without difference here. Don't you understand that he's calling our country? You know what I would have told? You know what I would? You know what I would have told Europe? I would have said, while you guys were adopting totalitarianism, while you guys were showing appeasement and weakness, we were showing resolve and commitment to the principles of freedom and liberty. And by the way, we saved your sorry you-know-whats a million times. He didn't brag about America's greatness and goodness and generosity, especially to Europe, especially to Mexico. He's too busy embracing the Castro brothers and listening to Daniel Ortega excoriate this country. What is it that he likes, Dan? He doesn't like our economic system, our superpower status. What is it that Obama loves about America except that he was elected? Let me ask you a question. If you go to Europe, would you tend to extol America's virtues, or would you sit there and apologize for America and suggest, well, we're sometimes arrogant? What would you do?
Fair reading. I would give a fair assessment.
Wait a minute.
Things in the world, and we sometimes have been arrogant. Sometimes we marched right on in the country.
I don't think we were too arrogant when we slammed the beaches in Normandy and beat back Nazism and fascism. I think that was pretty. I think that was pretty selfless of America to go out there and shed their blood and pay a very dear financial and human cost in that war.
That's right, and that's probably not what he's talking about.
That's probably... Well, maybe he could have reminded them of America's greatness. Maybe he could have reminded them that we beat back totalitarianism, communism, and now terrorism, as we have done in the past. Maybe he could have reminded them that as they have adopted appeasement, that their lack of understanding of the world's evil has led to the destruction of many human souls. Maybe he could have reminded them of that.
To say he made a less than perfect speech isn't the same thing as going over and sort of admitting, that America is simply, purely, only arrogant.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Dan. You need to understand this, as you suggest, as he does, that America is arrogant. Let me tell you, the world would not be currently configured the way it is with liberty and freedom.
That's correct.
Because wherever liberty and freedom is, there probably was a United States military representative there protecting it and preserving it. And yet Barack Obama doesn't seem compelled ever to tell that story. And I'm fed up with it, to be honest with you. I am just, it is one day after another, one dictator after another, this naive thought process that somehow, if we'd be nicer to them, they'll be nicer to us. And even though Ahmadinejad still denies the Holocaust, I'll talk to him without preconditions. How foolish is this president? How ignorant is he of history? It is frightening. And it's frightening that liberals like yourself, Dan, support him. It really is. All right, back to our phones. Sue in Rome, Georgia. Sue, Sean Hannity Show. What's going on?
Hey, Sean, how are you?
I'm good.
Great to talk to you.
Thank you. Welcome to the program.
Hey, I've been listening all week about this waterboarding and President Obama shaking hands with all these people. And I tell you, I come from a long line of military family. My dad served, 2 brothers served, I've served, my husband, his father, and my daughter's in ROTC. And I tell you what, I would be just terribly upset if any of this went away, because I want that to continue, especially with my daughter, ROTC Army. And, you know, when my dad served 3 wars, and, you know, he won't even talk about some of the stuff that went on. And I'm just wondering, did they have doctors there? Did they do 2-hour sessions? Were they monitored? I don't think so. And you can talk to anybody from the Vietnam War that were prisoners, and you know, they didn't have it at all like that. And
let me tell you something. It's never been easy for the greatest generation, but they never complained, did they? They never demanded that the government give them so many things that the government is now proposing here. Anyway, good call. I appreciate you being with us. 800-941-SEAN, folks, is our toll-free telephone number if you want to be a part of the program. Now, I want to tell you tonight on Hannity, 9 Eastern, Mike Huckabee's going to be on. We're going to get into the definition of torture. Among other things, the release of these photos of interrogations. How bad is that idea? We got our Great American panel, including former Miss USA, and Michael Strahan is going to be on tonight. That and more, 9 Eastern, Hannity, Fox News Channel. We'll continue.
Sean Hannity.
87 in New York. You have a great weekend. Don't worry, we'll be working hard for Monday, and we will watch the 100-day mark next Wednesday. Huckabee tonight, how do you define torture? Should they release these interrogation photos? And more at 9 o'clock Eastern. Have a great weekend. Back Monday.